What kind of psychopathic devil lives in the middle of a desert? I asked myself while trudging in the middle of nowhere. The rag I held and the sand on it hid my heavy panting. Hot dust carried by the wind sneaked into the gory bandage on my right eye, causing pain in my empty eye socket. The greasy hem of my messy mullet haircut adhered to the back of my neck. Why was I not bald? My brown waistcoat and white shirt were soaked in blood, but not mine. I considered taking them off a few times, yet I was too tired to do anything other than keep walking. Also, the wetness actually helped to cool my body down. My empty left hand was hanging on the side of my body like a parched branch. It was sable, with a texture similar to tree bark. The difference was the purple glimmer coming from the narrow seams on my skin. Just for clarification, my right eye and left arm were not injured. That eyeball was dissolved into magic energy, and my left arm was surgically altered into a wand. My right leg, which was tied to 2 wooden plates, was actually injured. One of the cannibals faked his death and struck me in the leg when I was walking over their body. He caused me some inconvenience, but I had to admit, he was tough. He was the first one to have his hips blown off. Who could have guessed he survived to the last? Therefore, my little anger was not targeted at him, but at those fat intelligence brokers. They never told me I had to fight a tribe of cannibals before reaching the devil. I continued trudging in this wild land of nothing. I could see the horizon formed by sand and sky, and nothing was between it and me. Wait a second. How could I see the horizon? Where was the dusty gale? When had it stopped? I swung my head to the back intuitively and raised my arm wand. A purple spheroid burst from my palm before I could see what was behind me. My spheroid exploded on a film-thin wall. The wall was glowing with a dazzling red light that made me squint my remaining eye. The wall quickly lowered. A man stood behind it. He was a gentleman with a set of tuxedo ducktail and snow-white skin. Resonating with his outfit, his manner of surrendering was also formal to the point that it appeared fancy. His hands rose in the air, his elbows bent 90 degrees. His shoulders and upper arms were aligned in one line.
I'm willing to surrender, but how are you going to kill me like that anyway?
He asked with great pride in his voice. There was no chance this person was not the devil. You think I can't kill you? I lowered my arms and threw the rag on the ground. The idea of me not being able to kill him had never crossed my mind. Yeah, why had I never thought about it? Anyway, I could not act weak now.
I think...
The pale devil had a burst of smirk and continued.
I know you can't kill me, human. You were almost dead before I showed up, and I can just leave and let you die here.
We'll see, I shouted while clutching my left hand before my face. Following, the granular ground under the devil's feet spurted upward, devouring his entire body. I swept my arm horizontally, and a purple crescent slashed through the falling sand. Yet the devil was no longer there. Shit! I attempted to browse around, but a gale crashed on my back. I stamped my good foot deep into the ground, pushing back the roar of the desert. The wind spun around me, forging a wall of dust storm. I shut my eyes and covered my nose. The hem of my hair billowed in the wind, a few patches adhered to my face. I could feel the wall closing up on me as the sand around my buried leg got inhaled into the sky. How could I defeat this devil, and why had I never thought of it? I quietly questioned myself while frantically pulling a dead rat from my pocket. I dissolved its body into 20 shining dots of magic. They rounded me and orbited after being released into the air. Glowing lines extended from them and connected into a web. Purplish plates filled the gaps in the web, forming a dome that isolated me inside. I gained a few seconds to breathe, and kept being taunted by the questions. Then, The storm crushed my little room. I crawled out of the dune above me and rolled off the slope. Dust covered every inch of my skin. Even the cracks on my chapped lips had some in them. Dazzling sun forced my eyes closed, and I heard the devil talking near me.
So, do you still think you can beat me?
He sounded playful and graceful at the same time. Half of me wanted to kick his ass, and another knew I could not. Fuck it, I'm doing it. I opened my eyes and shot a spheroid from my left palm. Of course, he dodged away. I tried to get back on my feet, yet the pain on my right leg pulled my strength away when I tried to stand on it. Thus, I attempted again, entirely relying on my left foot. The devil just smirked and made a puff. The puff multiplied several times and became a literal gust when hitting me. I slumped on the dune, panting.
How many devils have you really slaughtered? Your performance is rather underwhelming.
Good question. How many had I killed? I could not call up the number right now, yet I knew I killed a lot. A lot! I killed a lot of them. What, you afraid? I said with my eyes squinted under the sun.
And who did you kill exactly?
He asked slowly, with a tiny sense of rhythm in his words. I struggled a bit to recall my memory. It was quite hard to process my brain after a fight. Nonetheless, I did remember some fragments. Thus I answered. One in the ocean, another in a basement. What do you care, anyway?
Well, first of all, devils don't.
He paused himself with his palms clapped midair. He rolled his eyes upward, thinking about something I did not know. What?
How did you defeat a devil in the ocean, exactly?
Well, I took a second to think about it and felt a rush of anger. Hey, I asked you first. Why do you care?
Well, I think you should think about it this way.
The devil put his hands behind his hips and put on a didactic tone.
I am helping you cure your amnesia. You should feel grateful about it.
I don't have amnesia. My memory is perfectly fine, I exclaimed as I sat up from the dune.
Then why can you not tell me how you killed the devil in the ocean?
He said with a quicker pace than usual. I can! Of course I can! He reached out his spread palm and gestured me to start. I launched a bombard on him. I lied.
You lied?
Can you prove it, bastard?
The devil you are talking about is a she, not a he.
Huh? My rage turned into confusion immediately. I was never the kind good at being angry anyway.
Her name is Dane, and we were quite close before.
He paused. His brows frowned, and he finished the sentence.
She died.
I just sat there, watching him. I did not feel sorry for him, of course. However, I was unsure what to do. The situation was quite bizarre now. He recovered to his previous status and asserted with a minor impatience.
Anyway, I know you are lying, and you do not remember your past.
Although he was right, I kept my hostility going. Yeah, whatever. What do you care? His slight impatience became a mild annoyance. He sighed.
Maybe you should care a bit more.
He snapped his finger, and there was only darkness. My lameness always gave me a hard time when driving. I had to control all the 3 pedals with 1 foot. I drove out of my workplace's parking lot with my back leaning against the leather seat. The work suit fitted me perfectly, and the familiar smell of my car gave me a surge of happiness. I stared at the wedding ring on my left hand with love. I had to be the luckiest man in the world. The night was quiet. I could see rows of street lamps along the road with my bare eyes. Their light glistened on the lush trees nearby. Everything was perfect. Then a red sedan crashed into my car from behind. My forehead knocked on the windscreen, and my car swerved into the middle of the road, running into a streetlight. I guess it was my body or something that triggered the door handle. Anyway, I fell out of the car and rolled on the ground. I faintly opened my eyes, watching a weird man walking out of the red sedan. His left arm was black and slim with textures of tree bark. Purple light glowed through the seams. What kind of monster was he? I woke up back in the desert, panting while sweating all over my dusted self. The pain in my chapped lips and leg wounds signaled the real world. I probably was a damn devil hunter with a devil before me. I goggled at the devil. What the fuck?
It's all right. I just showed you the memory erased from your mind. I can't bring back more due to the limit of magic, but I suppose the amount you saw is enough for you to put the puzzles together.
His eyebrows slightly lowered, showing me some tiny pity. I shut my eyes and hurriedly scratched my mullet hair. It was easy to conclude that the Mage Guild kidnapped me and brainwashed me into a mage to kill the devil. However, there was something wrong. Something was out of place. The scene of me being kidnapped seemed natural, but it didn't feel right. Oh yeah, my left leg was injured by the cannibals a few hours before I met you. My leg was perfectly fine before I met them. He was startled. The shock on the pale devil's face turned into a fleeting embarrassment, and he closed his eyes, tilting his head down. I could faintly see the deep frown on his face. It would suck for me if he got mad. Moments later, he chuckled lightly and looked at me with amusement conspicuous on his face. Somehow, he was entertained by his own mistake, I guessed.
Very well, human. The kind of blunder in memory weaving was on me. You did a good job spotting my mistake.
So, I tried to speak, but he quickly interrupted.
Still, it does not change the fact that the guild wiped your memory and sent you to die here.
And you're no better! I smirked, mocking him for his failed attempt to take the moral high ground.
Untrue. I did not wipe your memory, and I did not send you to die. I only showed a possible past of yours, and the guild treated you as a wasted pawn.
So, what do you expect me to do now that I know I was tricked? I asked him. I was really asking myself. Who was I exactly? Who was I else than the facade forced on my face? Was this personality of mine fabricated? Which part of me other than my body was real? Was there even a meaning for me to answer these questions?
Very simple. You take me out of this desert, and I will help you get revenge.
What?
As a devil, I cannot leave my habitat myself, and I will run out of magic energy eventually if the guild doesn't stop sending pawns like you to hunt me.
He elaborated sincerely, without much emotion. I struggled to reply since I could not answer myself. Who would I avenge for? A former user of my body who was killed by the Mage Guild? Myself? I was literally created by the guild. Would not make sense.
I know you are confused.
The devil suddenly crouched before me and patted me on the shoulder.
You do not need to treat this as an act of vengeance. It can be just an act of justice to prevent more souls from facing what you faced.
What? Could this be? He continued.
I've seen too many souls vanish just because they had a body containing magic. And I've seen too many souls crafted with only thirst for blood and fate to fade.
Yeah, I suppose the guild's doing was evil.
You do not need to be the pawn that the guild made you into. You can be your own person. You can choose to be a hero.
The seriousness and threat of sympathy exhibited by his visage were the last things needed to convince me. I guessed it was the start of a beautiful friendship and a heroic journey.